Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You are listening to episode 103. Hey, my microphone is off. Check 1, 2. Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. This is episode 103. You're listening to us for the 103rd time, maybe. I don't know. It's November 22nd, 2020. I'm all thrown off from that little mishap. Will, how the fuck are you, man?
You know what, man? I'm well. It's still hard to digest. 103.
I know.
For everybody that's been listening to every single episode, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being with us. And even if you're listening to us for the first time, we really appreciate you stopping by and saying hello. You can find us on the web at WDGRPodcast.com. Of course, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGRPodcast. Will, you've got a SoundCloud with some awesome tunes. How can they find you there?
Yeah, soundcloud.com/Will_gear.
And you can find me on Twitter at ScionStorm if you'd like to stop on by and say hi and see what I'm up to. So, man, how the hell are you? What's going on, dude?
Yeah, I'm a little tired because I'm still getting used to going back to the office a couple days a week, which is kind of, well, we won't go there. But it's weird because, I've been home since March. Mm-hmm. So having to get back into this routine of like getting up earlier and getting ready and just kind of being more of a 35-year-old.
Yep.
you kind of realize pretty quickly that it can be kind of tiresome because you got to do all of that. You got to get to work, and you'd be surprised that even just driving on the highway involves more concentration than it does going up the stairs and walking into a room. So, just dealing with that. But outside of that, man, I'm well. I'm excited for today's show. I'm excited to have some time off this week for Thanksgiving, and I hope everybody is staying safe.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm tired. I had as we were talking about earlier this morning, I had a hell of a time falling asleep last night. I think I over-caffeinated just a little bit, which is kind of weird for me. I'm usually pretty good about managing my caffeine intake, and couldn't fall asleep. And then when I finally did, I woke up at 3 a.m. and I was like wide awake. So I just got out of bed and started my day. And it's been a pretty lazy day, honestly. I haven't really done too much. A couple things around the house. But I haven't, taken a nap or anything. So, we're going on, what, 15, 16 hours of being awake at this point?
Yeah, that's quite a while.
I'm tired. I have to get up for work at 4:30 in the morning tomorrow. So when we're done recording, I might do a little bit of editing on the show, and then I'm going to go straight to bed where I expect to fall asleep right the fuck away. And if I don't, I'm going to be so mad.
Yeah, it's amazing how sleep can really do a body good.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are starting to realize now how important and valuable it really is just from a sort of virtue perspective.
Dude, when I was a kid, even well into my 20s and 30s, I always was able to go to bed and just doesn't matter what I did earlier in the evening, doesn't matter what I drank, whether it's alcohol, coffee. I remember going to the diner at midnight and drinking a pot of coffee with my friends, going home 2:00 in the morning, conking out, waking up at 8. It was nothing. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's much more difficult. When you get older, the stresses come with everything, and just daily life, the daily grind can really eat away at your mind. So it's important to have a good routine, good nightly routine.
Yeah. Nowadays, I definitely go for that full 8 hours, which cuts into my gaming time severely, but is what it is, I guess, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you said it just best. If you get home, say 5:30, you get settled in, you have dinner, catch up with your significant other. And by the time you've kind of settled down, you've got to realize that bedtime's pretty much at 9:30, 10 if you want to make sure you get that 8.
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely true. Breaks my heart, dude. It really does.
Same, man. I just want to be irresponsible some days. Really irresponsible.
Well, let's talk about some video games. I really could use the distraction. I don't know about you.
Sure.
What have you been playing, dude?
The Last Guardian.
Ooh.
Quite a magnificent game, I gotta say. I've got some gripes with it, which I'm going to get into shortly, but it's same team as Shadow of the Colossus and Ico or Eco, however you want to say it. And I can't remember the guy's name. It's like Fumitsu Ueda or something, the guy that's the director and the sort of mastermind behind these games. But really good, extremely artsy. First impressions are very similar to, my first impressions with Shadow of the Colossus. It's got that kind of sense of loneliness, except this time you have a companion with you versus just the horse. You have Trico, who's like this giant dragon cat-like creature. Can't really figure out what he is.
Yeah.
He's quite majestic because his the way that they animated him actually is interesting. Like his feathers and his fur sort of blow in the wind constantly, no matter where you are. So he looks very much alive. But yeah, it's interesting. Basically, to sum it up, you play as a small young boy who's probably about 10, 12 years old at most. He has weird sort of tattoo like images all over his body, and he can't figure out why. Sort of wakes up in this sort of nest with Trico, who is wounded with I think it's like a spear or a stake in its side.
Okay.
And basically, for the first hour of the game, you're having to sort of coax Trico to adapt to you and adapt to the fact that you're trying to help him. So you remove the spear after like feeding a bunch of like wooden barrels that are glowing butterflies. I don't know what's in the barrels, but you just have to drop or throw them at Trico and he'll eat them. But it's this sort of idea that you would have with, say, finding a stray cat or stray dog. You've got to take it easy at first, and it takes like, a couple days or whatever to get this animal used to you. So that's kind of the first stage of the game. And I'm so early on into it, even though I've played quite a bit, that I still don't really understand like what the real like sort of plot or premise is. Like I don't really understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, but I can tell you that I'm basically nursing this animal back to health and also creating a sort of extreme bond with it as well. And that's essentially what you do. You just sort of traverse this really beautiful world, and it's very majestic. It's sort of foggy and windy, and there's birds flying around, butterflies, kind of, again, the same sort of atmosphere that Shadow creates,
Right.
But just a little bit different. And sense of scope is similar. Everything's very large. You feel very small. So it creates that sense of just a very sort of open, large world, which is really cool.
Okay.
And you can climb on Trico. You can interact with him. You can call for him. You can pet him when he gets like angry. You can kind of calm him down by jumping on his back and rubbing like his neck or his head. And different areas that you rub him, he'll have a different reaction. So it's just very vague. Like the game doesn't really tell you that much. It comes up with little prompts here and there that say to interact with Trico, hit triangle, but it's just got that same quality that Shadow did, where a lot of it you just have to figure it out on your own. And there were definitely quite a few moments where I was just like, I have absolutely no idea where to go and what to do right now. And I had to go on YouTube at least a couple times already and look up what to do in certain areas. And I'm glad I did, dude, because once I figured it out, I was like, there's no way I would have figured this out on my own. And for example, I was at this sort of cliff where there was nowhere to go besides just basically jumping off the cliff and killing myself. So I was like, what do I do? And Trico's just wandering around making all these noises. And I'm like, this is really frustrating. And like, now I'm wasting time because, as you and I know, our time is valuable. We can't just be trying to solve a puzzle for an hour. That hour is precious for us. So I went on YouTube. I looked up what I had to do. And you had to sort of coax Trico over to this weird wall that I kind of ignored. And you had to jump on him. And then once you're on him, you have to wait like 3 minutes. And then he jumps over the wall. And I'm like, what? Why would have I just randomly done that?
It's very obtuse.
So, yeah, it's obtuse. It's vague. I get it. That's kind of the sort of idea that they're going for, I guess. And I can appreciate that. But at the same time, I found myself quite frustrated at times because some of the tasks and some of the things that you have to do with Trico are just extremely tedious.
Yeah. I I actually have a copy of this game, and I've started it twice. I want to say I never got very far. I remember like trying to figure out how to get him through the caves, like, and I think I spent like 2 hours struggling, and I stopped for the evening, and I just never went back. And I always wanted to spend some time with this game because it feels like it should be a very special game, much like Shadow of the Colossus was.
Mm-hmm.
But I just never took the time with it because it just never hooked me, you know. We've talked about in the past games that you need to like grab a hold of you and hook you right from the get-go, and I don't think I've just given it enough time and patience to really let it do its thing.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. This game is a game of patience, really. There's many times that I just wanted to say, you know what? Fuck this, man. I'm not making any progress. Like, this game's bad.
Yeah.
And I started getting like negative and cynical about it. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just fire up Jedi Fallen Order because like I really want to play that, and it's probably not suffering from these control issues and the obtuseness, if that's even a word. And I kind of just persevered and kept with it, and I actually made some really nice progress last night. But not without its tedious moments and not without its frustrations. The controls are kind of bad. They're kind of bad. I'm sugarcoating it because I really enjoy a lot of the game, but god damn, dude, there are many moments where you just are sort of flopping around and the boy's not really doing what you want it to do, and then the camera's getting all fucked up.
Is it glitchy too?
It's not glitchy. There's nothing like broken in the game, but the camera definitely needs work, and the controls are just kind of sluggish and just not really that responsive. Shadow had the same problem, except this time it seems worse. And it just makes me fantasize about games like Bayonetta, where like the controls are just absolute perfection.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, any button you press, instantly everything is reacting the way you want it to. So it's hard to get past that, and there are definitely some people that have given up on these sorts of games for that reason.
Yeah, I could see that being kind of a deal breaker, you know?
For some, yeah. I mean, trust me, I have a lot of patience, but I have limits. And like I said, if I'm struggling with something for like an hour plus, I mean, it's hard not to just be like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And just like delete the game, uninstall it, or just go back to it later. And then we all know that later is generally about a year.
Yeah.
So,
if at all.
No, it's funny, dude. Like, I'll tell you something funny. On Saturday, I was sitting there playing it. I was getting really frustrated. And in my head, I was like, you know what? I'm beating this game today. Clearly didn't happen. I ended up having dinner. I had a lot of wine. And I didn't go back to it. I was just like, I just need to give this game a break right now.
How much time have you put into it?
At least, I would say like at least like 3 to 4 hours.
Do you know
maybe
how long it
more.
Is?
According to how long to beat last time I looked, I thought it was 15. But I've seen a lot of people on YouTube finish it in just over 5 hours. So, I'd like it to be about a 5 to 6 hour game. I don't know if it really needs to be 12 to 15.
Yeah, it looks like somewhere between 12 and 20, depending on how much of a completionist you are.
Yeah, and I feel like the reason why it's at that sort of timestamp or time mark is because of the controls being so bad. I think that the controls and the puzzles and some of the vagueness of the game is allowing people to play this game longer than it should be played.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one criticism I have towards it. But from a more positive outlook, the game is gorgeous. The soundtrack is mesmerizing. It's very orchestral, very sort of sweeping, kind of emotional. I guess you can kind of compare it to, I don't know, like Legends of the Fall mixed with like American Beauty. It's got that sort of really sort of big orchestral sound, but at the same time, there's a lot of emotion there that you would find in American Beauty. So I don't know, man. It's great. Soundtrack's great. Visuals are excellent. The boy and Trico, the attention to detail is pretty tremendous.
The boy.
The boy, yeah. In the direction of deer. I thought about that randomly recently. I don't know why.
Oh, man.
But Yeah, no, it's a gorgeous game. It's
Yeah.
incredibly artsy. It kind of looks like a watercolor painting come to life that you're controlling. So I really dig that.
Yeah.
And I really am curious to finish it because apparently it's a very emotional ending, and I'd like to see where this bond goes between myself and Trico because it's building and
Mm.
it's getting better.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing if you do finish the game, and
I'm gonna finish it.
yeah. I mean, I want to hear your final thoughts on it. It's a game that I've wanted to play for so many reasons, and just haven't. It's just one of those things that every time I sit down with it, it's just not the right time for whatever reason, and sits on my shelf collecting dust.
Well,
So,
it's a slow burning game.
mm,
It's not a game like Fallen Order or just anything else that you can kind of just fire up and the momentum kicks off quickly.
yeah,
This game is slow and sort of methodical, and you have to be comfortable just like panning the camera around for like maybe 5 minutes, just trying to figure out where to go. So
mm,
some people don't have that patience, and I respect that.
yeah. I mean, I think I could definitely work with with that, but just maybe the timing hasn't been right.
Yeah, mindset. It's kind of like Spiritfarer. It's the
Mm,
same concept. You want to be in the right mood for these sort of games.
yeah,
I don't think it's something you want to play when you're just trying to play something perhaps more energetic. It's
right.
not going to be the right fit.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So yeah,
Well,
that's initial thoughts.
you mentioned Fallen Order a couple times. Let's talk about that. I know you picked it up.
I did. Dude, I am so fucking excited to play this game.
Yeah.
You told me about it. I knew about it since launch. I paid small attention to it when it did come out. Saw some gameplay and some trailers. It did look good. But since I kind of fell out of love with Star Wars, I never really paid that much attention to it to consider buying it.
Hmm.
But ever since you mentioned it, I decided to look into it again and got it on a fantastic sale,
Yeah, you did.
lowest it's ever been. And very excited to play it. I mean, this gameplay just looks it's stunning. It looks like Sekiro mixed with Dark Souls, mixed with Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. So
Yeah,
it's quite the concoction for me.
that is a pretty accurate statement. It came out for Game Pass when the Series X launched, and it had been a game that I was paying a lot of attention to when it originally came out. But I was kind of waiting for a sale. I just didn't want to pay $50 for it or $60 for it. I had heard there were quite a few bugs and there were some issues with it. Oh, he's lowering, folks.
I am lowering.
He's lowering down. Um,
Yeah.
so, I was kind of aware of some of the issues that the game had, and I decided to hold off on it until the price was right. And then it went on sale a bunch, but it just kind of fell off my radar because I was playing other things like, Doom Eternal and Last of Us 2. I was just paying more attention to other games at the time. So I kind of almost forgot about it, kept it in the back of my mind. And then when it came out on Game Pass, I'm like, I'm playing that as soon as possible. And my experience with it has been absolutely wonderful so far. It is a challenging game. Is that Mars or Atlas?
This is Atlas.
Hey, buddy.
There he is.
Aw. he looks so unamused right now.
Yeah. He's like, this light is bright, and put me down, and then we've got Mars.
The two of them.
Dude, they always hit things that I don't even know how to do. Like they pulled up some spotlight search. I have no idea how to even do that. I've had this computer since 2011. They figure it out with just one desk jump.
It's cats are great, dude.
Yeah, you say so.
I got my door closed today, so they're not going to be making any guest appearances, thankfully. But yeah. So what I like about this game so far is the quality of the story and the graphics. I think there's a lot of attention to detail with the writing, with the casting of the voice actors, with the motion capture of their faces, and just the quality of the animation overall. It reminds me of games like KOTOR, not in style, but in substance, if that makes sense. It is not an RPG like KOTOR by any stretch of the imagination. Although there are skill trees that you can invest ability points into, and helps your character grow and gain more powers and become more powerful. But it is that fine line of Star Wars meets Dark Souls, Sekiro, those types of games. And I think it's at a difficulty level that's more manageable for somebody like me who does not have a ton of experience with those types of games. He is just all over you right now.
Relentless, dude. Relentless. Sometimes it takes like 18 desk drops for him to stop coming up here.
And you just got to get a box for him to lay in or something, put it up on the desk next to you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, back to Fallen Order. I think you're gonna like it. I hear that the game has some major glitches. I haven't really encountered too many of them, or at least nothing that I've been aware of. There's been a couple parts where my character just started kind of floating for no reason, but nothing that I wasn't able to kind of work my way out of.
Yep.
Nothing game breaking, certainly. So I'm going to keep going with it. You know, I'm enjoying it. It's not something I play every day, but it is something that I've been putting quite a bit of time into. I just wish it was more optimized for the Series X because I am encountering some pretty lengthy load times. The gameplay has been rock solid. I haven't really noticed any frame rate drops or anything of that nature, but it is not really, I don't think, benefiting from the full horsepower that the Series X can give. But I don't have a frame of reference either. I haven't really tried it on my One X, so I don't know if it is making an improvement on those load times or if I'm just impatient. You know, maybe those load times are twice as long or 3 times as long, and I just don't have that frame of reference, you know?
Yeah, you know, you could be spoiled already. You know, you've already played so many games that have
Oh, man.
incredible load times that when you're playing something that's a late 2019 game, it might not have that optimization that you had mentioned, and
Yeah.
you know, that could be seen as disappointing.
I don't remember if I talked about this last week or not, but I had fired up Ori and the Blind Forest on my One X, and it took me two minutes to get into the game, and I saw a loading screen that I had never seen on the Series X. So, that's how fast that system is.
Wow,
it's impressive. You know,
I have heard really good things about it. I actually read I think just a brief article today about how well this system is running, and even graphically how good games like Valhalla look.
Yeah.
Some people are saying that it just looks extraordinary on the Series X.
I would like to give Valhalla a try. I'm just afraid to spend the $60 on a franchise that I'm not sure I'm going to like.
Yeah, don't do it. And I mean that seriously. I think that you and I both should not be taking on a game like AC Valhalla right now. It's too much of a deep dive. It's like our worst enemy. Anything
really
like the Witcher series, Assassin's Creed, any big open world games, we're asking for trouble.
Well, Cyberpunk comes out in 2 weeks, you know, and that's going to be a big fucking game, you know?
That seems like something you can kind of dip in and out of, though, for some reason. I think it's just because of the actual premise of the game, whereas Witcher and AC Valhalla just seem a little bit more grindy and more tasky.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that, but it just does seem like something that you might be able to dip in and out of.
I guess some of the reviewers have had access to a 16-hour chunk of the game, and IGN was talking about it, and they, I think, said it took them 3 hours to get to the title screen. Like the prologue and setup for the game was 3 hours long. And if you're looking for something that's like nonstop gunplay, this is not the game for you. It's very much an RPG, very methodical, very dialogue and story driven, which sounds incredible and terrible at the same time. So I'm not really sure what to expect. I'm looking forward to it. Like I'm very excited about it. I'm even more excited to get the Series X patch for it when it releases next year. But in the meantime, like I've been watching some gameplay videos and, you know, reading some articles, and this looks like it's going to be pretty freaking cool, man.
You know, I thought about it today and actually discussed it with Zach at work a little bit. It's interesting because we're so used to seeing remakes and remasters and a lot of reboots and Spider-Man this and whatever.
Yeah.
It's nice to see something brand new like this, brand new IP.
Yeah. And it's a long time coming, you know? And I mean, like Cyberpunk is it's not a new IP in the strictest sense of the word. You know, it is a role-playing game, pen and paper based. And I think there may have been a Cyberpunk game years and years and years ago.
Huh. I don't think I need that.
Yeah, I mean it's not something that's been made into a video game quite often. I'd have to take a look here.
Yeah, I had actually no idea. I thought it was
Yeah.
completely brand new, every aspect of it.
No, it's based on the Cyberpunk franchise, which is a originally pen and paper RPG. I don't believe they've ever made a game. Yeah, it's just a tabletop game. So, this is something that's pretty beloved with quite a few people. Um, I'm nervous. I'm excited, but most of all, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But it's the kind of that slow burn that I think is going to take some time to get used to. And like you were saying with The Last Guardian, I need to kind of get my mind in that mindset and kind of just sit down, hunker down, and prepare myself for the long haul.
Yeah, I had to kind of give myself little pep talks, internal pep talks when I was playing The Last Guardian yesterday, because I was like, listen, you impatient fuck. I know that you would rather do something like just scroll the web or something that's a lot easier, that takes a lot less patience, but right now, you like this game. Just deal with some of the tedious moments and some of the sort of struggles with controls, because you know that the end result is going to be great. And that's what I had to keep telling myself. And I'm glad I did, because I did make some good progress yesterday when I was supposed to be playing Fallen Order.
Nice. Well, outside of Fallen Order, there's a game that came out on Game Pass last week, I think. It's called River City Girls, and it's a side-scroller beat-em-up. It's part of the River City Ransom franchise. I've never really paid much attention to this game before. It's an indie kind of darling sort of thing right now, and there's been some physical releases on like Limited Run and that sort of thing. So I've kind of largely ignored it up until this point. But with Game Pass, why the hell not? It's there. And I got to say, man, I'm having a blast with this game. It is hard as balls, but it is fun. It is super tongue-in-cheek, very aware of itself, makes all kinds of jokes. The premise of the game is basically these two teenagers are trying to save their boyfriends who have been kidnapped. They're flipping the script a little bit there. So instead of, and these are, if I'm not mistaken, these are the two main characters from River City Ransom that they're going to save. So instead of the girls being the ones that are captured, this time it's the boys that are the ones that are captured. And, it's a 2-player beat 'em up, although you can play by yourself. And, you unlock more and more powers as you go through by, collecting money, buying attacks at like this dojo where you can like learn how to do certain combinations or certain types of throws. There's also like leveling up systems. So you build, you get XP for every kill that you make. And you can take control of some of the people that you're fighting and recruit them to your team and kind of have them almost like a secondary character. Remember how in some of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, you can have that guy jump in, do that single attack, and then jump out?
Yes.
Same idea here. You recruit somebody and then they stick with you and they'll jump in, they'll do a single attack, and then they get out.
Kind of like assists.
Yeah, exactly. It's an assist. And there's a bit of a collectability to it because you have certain characters that may have a different outfit, so their attacks might be a little bit different, or it's just a means of kind of giving you some replayability. Oh, I have 5 of the 6 Johnnies. I have to go find the 6th one, something like that.
Hey, I got 5 Johnnies.
Got 5 Johnnies here. But it's fun. It's silly. The music is catchy and clever. There's like this just magical J-pop playing everywhere, and a lot of the songs have lyrics, and the lyrics are super aware, and it's fun. I'm really enjoying it.
Good. I'll have to look into it. I saw like a screenshot or some kind of link, I think, in Discord, and I was like, all right, well, this is anime.
Yeah, and it is. I mean,
I still technically have a soft spot for anime because I really enjoyed anime like when I was a teenager, between like the ages of, I'd say, I don't know, 14 and 17, 14, 18, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of anime too when I was younger, and I don't really follow it anymore. But when when something with that kind of like level of attention to detail comes along, it draws my interest, and they've they've basically, trying to find the words for this. It taps into that sarcastic kind of humor that I'm into,
Mm-hmm.
that sharp wit. Because, like, for example, the first boss that you fight, um, the first thing that she says when she goes to attack you is "Get over here," and it sounds just like Scorpion. Like that is very intentional, and like as you're fighting through the halls of the schools and trying to work your way out of the school, the principal is like, these girls are supposed to be in detention and they're escaping. You students know what to do. Go beat them up. This is the principal saying this on the loudspeakers. So it's a silly game through and through, but it is a ton of fun. If you have a chance to check it out, I think it's worth at least watching a couple videos. I don't know if it's the type of game that you specifically would be into, just based on the types of games that you like. But
Mm-hmm.
it's certainly something I think couch co-op would be a lot of fun if we ever see each other again. So
I know. Jesus.
check it out. I think it's worth exploring a little further.
It's cool, and it kind of reminds me of like Persona and Persona 5 and some of
Yeah.
those other kind of games like Catherine, and there's sort of anime games that incorporate a lot of interesting things.
Yeah.
Even Ouendon, that game that Damien plays on the what is it, the DS?
Yep.
All of those sort of interesting anime-like games. There's another one actually that I had my eyes on at one point. I can't remember the name of it now. Um, but yeah, a lot of them just look really interesting, and I've never really dabbled with games like that, so it would be something that I need to explore that genre.
Yeah. I mean, each one is unique, depending on what type of game you're looking to play. They all have just different ways of approaching it.
Yeah, totally.
So, um, outside of that, I finally have finished Spiritfarer,
Okay,
and
that's an accomplishment.
yeah, I put a lot of time into that game. I thoroughly beat it. It is very much a collectathon towards the end. There's some collections that you can get, which will unlock outfits for the main character, and it was a powerful game, very powerful game. Um, Strangely, I think it may have been, in a way, the best game for 2020, because it is a very relaxing and soothing game, but it also has a very heavy subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with your character is bringing people across, the through the afterlife and guiding them to the other side.
Yeah, it's
And
pretty heavy.
it's really heavy. And as you come to find out, all of the people that you're bringing across, you knew in real life. Your character starts to discover, oh, maybe this one's my uncle, this one's my aunt, my friend, um, and there's just each one has its own story and their way of kind of dealing with finding what they need to find out so that they can go to finally just say, okay, I've finished what I needed to finish here in this life. I'm ready to move on.
Mm-hmm.
So the game is very much about knowing when to let go, knowing when to love somebody and when to leave them alone. There's a mechanic in the game that I've talked about before where you can hug people. And it gives, like, if there's ever going to be a Game of the Year award for hugs, Spiritfarer should get it. But some of the characters, if they're not in a good mental state, they'll be like, no, please don't hug me. It's not a guarantee that you're going to be giving these hugs, and when you do, they give a boost to the character's mood, but it's not a guaranteed thing. Maybe a story event happened where they're just like, they're not in a good mindset, or there's one character who you pick up, she's a teacher, she's a disciplinarian, you can never hug her, she does not want that. And that's a reality that I think, especially in 2020, a lot of us don't really understand. Some people don't want to be touched.
Yeah. The more that you explain this, the more that I'm impressed with how so many games now, especially in the sort of indie realm and unique games, are dabbling with so many different emotional struggles that we deal with in real life. Take Celeste, for example, a game that addresses anxiety, depression, things like that.
Yep.
I think it's great because it becomes more relatable for people that have issues, and even for the people that don't. It gives them a new perspective on what it's like to interact with certain people. I think that's great.
And this is the kind of thing I think we need more of in gaming.
Yes.
These indie studios have the ability to, I think, take a chance because they're not going to have the backing of a major studio that's going to be spending millions, if not billions of dollars that is guaranteeing themselves a return on that investment. Like we were talking about Assassin's Creed, right? Ubisoft has a formula. They know what's going to sell that game. So they're going to invest a pile of money into it, knowing that they're going to get double that back or whatever the financials are, right? Unless they release a bad game, which, that's a whole nother thing altogether. But a game like Spiritfarer or River City Girls or even Last Guardian has the freedom to take more chances because these games are not going for that widest possible appeal. They're going for that niche, and they're going to make the best possible game they can. And Spiritfarer really hit it out of the park, man. It was the kind of game that I found myself playing like when I wasn't sure what I wanted to play. Because you can kind of just jump in at any time and there's really no failure. You can ignore characters completely and they'll just wait for you until it's time to move on with their quest. And some of them block you like from proceeding with your character growth. So there are some characters that you have to bring to the Everdoor to have them pass on to the other side. And if you don't, you won't get that next step that will allow you to upgrade your ship to get more blueprints that can allow you to go to regions of the map that you cannot currently get to. And the entire time you're doing this, you're trying to essentially please these people by giving them food that they like, building them homes that they can live in on your gigantic, massive boat. You're helping them accomplish what they need to accomplish to get across to the other side. So maybe bringing them to a town that they used to go to when they were younger, or there's one character who's looking for her long lost husband, who's a bit of a flirt and kind of likes to sleep with other women. So there's a whole thing with that. And, each character has their own thing. One character, he loves to eat. He loves to cook. He loves to try to make people happy. And each character, kind of comes to their own conclusion in a different way. There's some characters that you don't get to say goodbye to. There's some that make this huge drawn out process, and the music is just absolutely beautiful. I mean,
who does the score? Do you know?
Max LL is the composer's name. I'm not familiar if he's done anything else, either with Thunder Lotus, the developers, or on his own. But it is a nice combination of strings and piano, and just thinking about some of the tracks gives me chills.
I'm definitely gonna have to look into this.
Yeah, it's a tremendous game. It's a fetch quest. I mean, let's be completely honest here, right? You're constantly looking for materials, items, and you're doing either harvesting, mining. You chop down a tree. Okay, now you have a log. Well, what can you do with this log? Well, you can use the log to build something, or you can make planks out of it and use that to build something. Well, now there's 4 different types of logs, and certain structures need certain types of wood. So you have that, and then you have crops, and certain crops are required to either feed certain people, make certain recipes. There's something like 100 recipes in the game.
Oh,
and
geez.
I cheated. I looked up some of them online, because there's an achievement for it. If you can get all of the recipes, you get an achievement. Mm-hmm. So I got to the point, like, I'm 30 hours into this game. I'm fucking getting that achievement. There's a fishing mini game where you can catch different types of fish, and then there's like tuna, which are they're like the boss fish basically. And if you don't time the whole fishing process right, the fishing line will break. You have to start it over again. But again, like, there's no punishment for failure. It's not a game about failing. There really is no failure. Maybe you have to do something over, but you don't lose what you've done to do that. You just start that part over.
Kind of reminds me of Greece. I know Greece
Yes.
had that same effect. Like I don't think you could even die in that game.
You couldn't. You couldn't. And in Greece's case, I saw that as a negative because Greece presented itself as a platformer, whereas this game presents itself as an exploration, as a farming simulator, as a very laid back experience. Greece, I felt, kind of missed the boat because it comes across to me as a game that's trying to be this action platformer with a dramatic story, and maybe I misunderstood what it was trying to do. I'd be willing to say that, but I think it's just a different way of approaching the no death issue, you know?
Well, you know what it is, and this is something that just kind of came to mind now. I think that it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that a lot of these kind of indie unique titles that we're speaking of here, they're trying to pack in something into a format that we've seen before in like regular games, if that makes sense. So I think a lot of these games end up being kind of flawed in their own sort of charming way because they're trying to accomplish something that can't really be done. Like Greece is, telling a story in such a way, but then incorporating that platforming aspect that we would find in other video games that do it really well.
Right.
So when you try to, I think, combine some of those elements into something that's a little bit more familiar, you get something that's kind of a flawed experience,
That makes sense.
But not majorly.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there, and that does make sense. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to talk about. And the other thing too is like with some of these characters, maybe part of their quest line is to go to a town on the map that you haven't seen yet because you don't have access to that area yet. So you need to try to figure out why. Is there ice that's blocking my ship from getting there? Is there wind? Is there fog? And your ship has upgrades that you can purchase that will allow you to surmount those obstacles. And it does so in a very linear way. You have to have a certain number of items to, get the ice breaker upgrade. You have to have a certain number of items to get the stronger sails to get you through the wind and so forth. And those items that you need for the next upgrade might be behind the first upgrade, in that ice region that you can't get to. So it's bringing you from point to point to point on the map in a very linear way. And as you're completing characters' quests and bringing them to the afterlife, you get an item that you can bring with you to help you upgrade your ship. So it's this kind of like circular cycle. And then eventually at the end of the game, you have to come to terms with the fact that you too must go to the afterlife. And it's time for you to let go. Now you can continue to play the game as long as you want, but there's really nothing left for you to do. It's just at that point, you're just playing because it's grindy, because it's fun, not because there's a character left to bring. So that's where that kind of like learning to let go part comes in, I think.
That must have been kind of sort of tough in a way.
It was. It certainly was. And, the music didn't help. It's very emotional.
Getting kind of welled up.
Yeah. I've read people kind of being moved to tears with this game. And up until that point, I hadn't experienced that. But between bringing my character and having her cross over and then the ending credits, it did kind of bring a tear to my eye. And Nikki, who really hasn't paid much attention to the game at all, she sat with me while I've played it, but she doesn't really focus on what's going on with it.
Sure.
She happened to be in the room when those credits were rolling, and she lost it.
Really?
Yeah, just out of
she
the
just
blue.
started crying?
Yeah, and I hesitate to like tell you about it because I don't want to ruin it for anybody that is planning on playing it. But yeah, it's a powerful ending.
So I guess my question is, did she cry because she knew how it ended or because of the music and just kind of seeing you cry?
I think it was a little of that, the
A little of
music,
that.
seeing me get emotional with it, and what was happening on the screen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome, man. I think moments like that we need to experience as humans a little bit more.
Yeah.
We've lost touch with that sort of emotional side because we put a guard up all the time. So
Yeah.
I love that, man. I think that's a beautiful thing, and I would say that you've definitely made me way more interested in this game than I ever was before.
I can't recommend it enough, and I don't recommend it under normal circumstances. But it's the kind of game where, like, you feel like playing something, but you really don't feel like getting in too deep. Maybe you got half an hour, maybe you got an hour, maybe you just want to kind of just chill out before bed. You fire up Spiritfarer, right? You play for a little while, you do some of the quests, you build some stuff, and then you go to bed. And when you come back, it's exactly where you left it. It's, you don't have to remember what you were doing. You don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. It's just a very relaxing game. And it's this kind of weird dichotomy between super heavy seriousness of the story and the super relaxingness of the gameplay that it's almost like it sums up 2020 for me, because, like, I don't know what I would have done with, like, my stress levels without that game, but at the same time too, it's like making me, like, think about some really serious shit.
Yeah. I have a lot to say to that. I wouldn't even know where to start. It's such a deep dive with some of the things that you mentioned. But all I can say in short is that I'm glad that the game shaped up nicely for you, because I know at times in the beginning you weren't too sure where it was going to go in terms of an experience for you. And I was concerned that it was going to be a game that was going to get abandoned. And I'm glad that it didn't.
The casual nature of it was kind of a turnoff at first for me.
Yeah.
I really wasn't sure what to expect when I saw the original trailers for it. And when I started playing it, and I kind of reminded me of things like Animal Crossing, Terraria, stuff like that. And those types of games really aren't for me, but something with this game just kept bringing me back. And I don't know if I could put my finger on it, but I'm glad I stuck with it.
I'm glad you did too. And, this might be something that you're going to end up, sort of thinking about for a while is, what was the sort of magnet that kept you going back. It's kind of cool to think about those things sometimes. And sometimes it takes like a couple months for you to suddenly realize, that's what it was that did it.
Yeah, I agree. So.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad that turned out to be a great review. I am most certainly going to be looking at the soundtrack at a minimum.
Yeah. Soundtrack is just one of the best things I've heard this year.
Full stop. That's a bold statement.
Full stop. And it's just, I can't describe it. It encapsulates everything that, like, being on a boat is, and everything that caring for people is at the same time.
So it's got that sort of like at sea feeling.
Sometimes, yes.
At sea feeling mixed with those sort of emotions and those feelings that you experience in the game. That's an interesting combo.
Yeah. So play it. You'll like it. All right. So let's see here. Well, we're down to the mailbag. We got a mailbag tonight.
We do.
What do you say?
It's been a while since we, since we opened that guy.
It has been. We've had a action-packed episode for the past few weeks, but we wanted to kind of touch base with everybody and see how everybody's doing. Folks, if you are in the Twitch chat, come on by and say hello. Leave us a question. We'll talk about it on the air. But let's hit the mailbag in our Discord room first. And if you would like to join us in the Discord room, there is a link for that in the show notes. First question goes to Scooby Diesel. We were asking everybody if they were able to get their next generation consoles, and if they have, what are their thoughts? If they haven't, what frustrates you with the process? What would make it better? Scooby says, I was in the I'll just wait boat for the new systems, but after the release, it kind of hit me that I probably won't be heading back to full work for a while, and I'd still love to play Miles Morales and Astrobot on PS5. But Jesus Christ, it's impossible to get one. I'll get a Series X sooner or later, but I can wait with my One X taking care of my Game Pass needs for now. Have you given up on getting a PS5 in this year, or are you still looking?
I think it's a good question. I think that the answer is probably most certainly yes, that I have given up.
Mm.
I've had conversations with you and other friends and buddies at work, and it seems like everybody's going through this same process that even Scooby's going through, which is, finding this, finding the process to be, pretty unbearable. It's not even really possible to get one. It's just dumb luck, or you got to get a bot involved, and no one in our circle is dealing with bots.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, I'm probably going to wait because the same reasons as Scooby. I've got a big backlog. I'm still really thoroughly enjoying my PS4. I've been playing some great games. We have Portal 2 that we want to play eventually.
Yes.
So there's just like a lot on our list that we're busy. So we're always busy because we don't beat games weekly. So
right.
Screw you, Joe. I had to toss that in there. But yeah, no, I think it's safe to say I've given up. I don't want to go through the process anymore of trying to, get in line or watch all these crazy feeds where you got to hop on Walmart at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Oh my God.
I'm done. I'm done.
I have a buddy who's been trying on a daily basis to get a PS5, and I can't tell you how many times I've walked into our Discord room and said to him, "Hey man, did you get one yet?" And he's like, "No, but they went on sale at 3 a.m. at bjs.com last night," or Best Buy had 5 in stock at 2:40 in the morning. And it's like, it's just this constant frustration from him. Like he's trying and trying and trying. And he originally wanted to get a digital only, and now he's just like, I'll take whatever I can get. I don't care.
It's borderline like unhealthy, because what it's doing, it's creating this sort of this neurotic behavior in some of us that aren't usually neurotic, where we're having to sort of frantically get ready for some wave of online orders. And sometimes it's happening when folks are at work and then they're stressing out about their boss seeing them do it or whatever. So it's creating a lot of stress that I think is unnecessary. I think that if I were to point the finger at anybody, I'd say maybe it's the retailer's fault, and not so much Sony or Microsoft, but it's hard to say. It could be a combo of both. I think we brought this up on the last show, but it's just a little bit shocking that the supply and demand is not really meeting the standards that I guess we're used to.
Yeah, I think personally at this point, I would just wait. It's not worth the stress.
It's not.
And it's easy for me to say that because I was able to get a Series X on day one.
But you had to set up a command center to do it.
I did, and I got lucky. I got very lucky. If I wasn't able to get that on that day, I wouldn't be trying right now. Because it's unnecessary stress.
It is. And, I said to Zach today, I was like, dude, at the end of the day, it's the same story. I want a $70 game on a $500 system plus tax.
Mm-hmm.
And when you break it down like that, you're like,
yeah,
I don't know if it's really worth it right now.
It's a good point.
Because that's expensive for one remake of a game
that you've already played thoroughly.
Yeah. I think I played that game 5 times. Now, granted, it's a remake. We don't need to get into, the fact that it's a very different title, but it's just, I have to be an adult about this. And as much as I would love to have one, to say that I have one and play Astro's Playroom every night, it's probably just not in the cards.
Mm. Plus,
and that's okay.
You would need to build an entirely new wing for your house to store it as well. So,
yeah, bring it in on like a hand truck.
Scooby also says, "Why the ruck?" I don't know if you're just being typo there, or why the ruck? Why the fuck have we not had a new Dino Crisis game yet?
I don't have a lot to say to that one. I mean, I never really dabbled with the original Dino Crisis games.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
think there was about 2 or 3 total. I mean, it's a Capcom game, right?
Yeah, I mean, it came out like around the time Resident Evil did. It was basically Resident Evil dinosaurs, from what I gather. I believe the third one went into outer space.
Ooh, sounds like a weird turn.
Yeah. So
I mean, if I had to add anything else, I think dinosaurs are cool. I think Zach would attest to that
he
one.
would.
Um, but it's just I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't think they're really relevant right now in the gaming industry. I don't think we're seeing dinosaurs really in anything.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's very 90s.
It kind of is. Yeah. Well, we should bring dinosaurs back.
We should. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm still game for like a Turok revival of some sort.
Yeah. Scooby also asks, so why have we not had a good Scooby-Doo video game? I remember enjoying some back in the day. I had one on Game Boy Advance, played a lot. But I feel like we could really have a cool Scooby and the Scooby and the Gang game now. Well, that's a tongue twister. But no one
Yes.
has bothered to make it. Do you have a childhood cartoon you loved that you'd like to see turned into a game?
I mean, I grew up as a Ninja Turtles fan, and I was pretty excited
Mm.
actually about the Turtles in Manhattan. It was actually developed by Platinum Games.
Oh,
Um, it was a game that came out, I want to say like 2, 3 years ago, maybe four. Didn't do well. That was the last time I got excited about a childhood cartoon that was turned into a game.
I'm trying to think. I mean,
I
I could.
feel like a lot of them have, though, right? Like if you look at The Simpsons, so a lot of those games were turned into games,
Yeah, I
or a
mean,
lot of those shows, rather.
I would like to see more Futurama games. There's only been one, and it was great. I mean, it was a heavily flawed game, but it was basically an episode, so it was a lot of fun. That would be cool. The Animaniacs TV show just got a revival on Hulu.
hmm
I've been
hmm
enjoying that. That has been just absolutely hysterical. I could go for an Animaniacs cartoon. That would be fun.
Yeah, also
Um,
good for 2020.
yeah. If you haven't watched that yet and you had any love for the original, I can't recommend it enough. It is so witty and poignant, and they pull no punches. Love it.
I'll have to put that on the list because I
yeah,
did enjoy the early 90s show.
they have uh, doubled down on the modern references. It's quite lovely. Let's see here. Puxor says, I haven't played Halo since Halo 2 back in high school, but firing up Halo 5, I can jump right in the mechanics of that game, although I have no idea what's going on with Cortana and this precursor race thing. Well, Pux, neither do I. Uh, what new game can you fire up and have that same comfortable feeling of nostalgia with? I would assume like every Dark Souls ever made is like the same feeling for you.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think because I thought about this at work actually, and I still didn't really come up with something. Um, I, it would probably come down to quite a few titles, but I had a hard time thinking about this because there isn't really a game. I guess maybe Metal Gear Solid
Hmm. Okay.
for sure seems like a really appropriate answer when I think of a game that I would fire up and have that sort of comfortable nostalgia with.
Okay.
Generally, I sort of move forward with games, and I think what I mean by that is I don't really turn back and go to titles that I've played a lot already. At least I don't do that so much anymore.
Well,
And it's because I'm basically just carving my way out of, a sea of games.
I,
But
I think the spirit of the question is if they were to make a Metal Gear Solid 6 and you were to start playing it right now, do you think that you would be able to, pick it up and play it and have it feel like Metal Gear Solid 1? What game is there that is out right now that is new that feels familiar to you based on previous entries? Like for me, Gears of
yeah,
War, if I fire up Gears of War 5, that's going to feel like Gears of War 1. The mechanics haven't really changed too much. It's still kind of the same game. It's that comfortable setting, for better or for worse.
yeah, I think I did lose sight of the spirit of the question there. Actually, I knew there was something not adding up with how I interpreted it, but
Mm,
um, still something I think I'd have to think about because a lot of the games that I've been playing have not brought that feeling
right.
that you described there, Pucks. So I'd probably have to maybe get back to you on that in Discord because I want to make sure I answer that one correctly.
All right. Fair enough. Joe Donuts asks, what are your thoughts on the Game Awards nominees? Is Doom Eternal truly Game of the Year material? Why is Hades allowed to sweep the categories, but games like Spiritfarer, Kentucky Route Zero, and Tell Me Why are relegated to Games for Impact? Is this just a weird year, or is Jeff Keighley's award show already as out of touch as the Oscars?
This is a really good one.
Yeah. I've never really paid too much attention to the Game of the Year awards because oftentimes games will be selected in there that either I'll never play or have no interest in.
Mm-hmm. And similar to the Oscars, right? Everything that wins or everything that's nominated, you only recognize, 2, 3 films.
Right. But it's not even so much because they're all artistic, but because it's like Assassin's Creed or, shit like that.
Yeah.
I think with Doom Eternal, there's an argument to be made for and against Game of the Year, because you have to understand that the people that love Doom Eternal really fucking love Doom Eternal.
That's true.
And I mean, it's not a black and white issue. It's like, hands down, this is the best game of the year and maybe the best game of the past 5 years for a lot of people. And I think it comes down to the type of experience you had. Joe and I had very similar experiences with this game, where it became a frustrating mess towards the middle of the game and all the way through the ending. But I know people that have played it that found the challenges that we struggled to surmount part of the thrill. Something that I found frustrating, those people found to be fueling. And that is not the Game of the Year for me, because that is not a game for me, ultimately. It took me a long time to come to terms with that. I have things with Doom Eternal that I love, and I have things with Doom Eternal that I hate. But at the end of the day, Doom Eternal was not designed for me, and I have to respect that. Just like if somebody were to say, Sekiro was Game of the Year. Well, Sekiro might be a great game, but it's not a game necessarily for me. You know what I mean? I can't say that it's not Game of the Year material because I haven't played it, because I don't want to. But I do agree with what you're saying, Joe, about a game like Hades kind of sweeping the categories, while a game like Spiritfarer, which is ending my year on a very high note. Why is a game like that relegated to Games for Impact? And I, without having played Hades, it's hard for me to answer that, because I can't really tell you what makes Hades that much better or that much different than Spiritfarer. Spiritfarer has a wonderful story, a beautiful soundtrack, but the gameplay is super shallow. There's not a lot to it. And I think if you're looking at a game that's Game of the Year worthy, it has to be more than just a great experience. I think it has to be a great story.
It's like more boxes.
Yeah, exactly. And like, if we're going to be completely honest, like the gameplay in Spiritfarer, I mean, you can play it on your phone. It's not very complicated.
You know. No, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, it makes me think about how you said the gameplay is shallow. I would say you could probably say the same for Shadow of the Colossus as well as The Last Guardian. I think that was a good choice of word, because the gameplay is not there. It's in the story and it's in the experience. And, I think to kind of answer Joe's question briefly, I think what he's insinuating is that maybe some of these games that might have shallow gameplay or are not ticking all the boxes that, these games require to win an award, maybe they should be in the category of actually winning something, because as you can see here, you've got two pretty big titles. I mean, Hades was wildly successful and so was Doom.
Right. And I mean, to kind of counteract with what you said there, Shadow of the Colossus won Game Awards. It was Game of the Year for a lot of places. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Think I was aware of that.
I don't know if it won. I don't know if Jeff Keighley was doing this award show. It may not have won that show. But if you go on their accolades page on Wikipedia, it's like a mile long.
Oh, wow.
So Shadow of the Colossus and I'm sure Last Guardian probably picked up a couple of awards too. Like those are games that for whatever reason made the cut, but a game like Spiritfarer didn't. I mean, all this shit's subjective.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say, very subjective. And I think Spiritfarer, I don't know, it's almost like a totem pole effect, right? Some of these games I think are still at that bottom level. And games like The Last Guardian and Shadow, even though they're really artsy and sort of independent, if you will, they're still hitting that higher mark on the pole because people recognize them and they're marketed well, and there's a lot of hype around them. And
Right.
with Spiritfarer, I can guarantee that very few people in my circle of friends are going to know anything about that game. But if I say anything about The Last Guardian or Shadow, they're going to know.
Right.
I mean, The Last Guardian is one of the free PS Plus titles for the PS5.
Is it?
Yeah, which was shocking actually to see it on that list, because I know it was a fairly sort of big commercial success for the most part.
Right.
It was rated well. I just didn't think that it would be on that list. I would have put Shadow before it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Well, this is definitely the type of thing that doesn't, I think, have a clear-cut answer either way.
No.
But I think a comparison to the Oscars is pretty apt. It's just that, like, the Oscars are out of touch, I think, for different reasons. I think,
agree with that.
I think at the end of the day, what Jeff Keighley's trying to do is put together a show that represents as many people as possible. As many fans, as many styles of games, as many genres as it possibly can. And if you're looking for some sort of a deep philosophical statement on what the best game is, you're not going to get it from Keighley.
He's a little bit too, he's too commercial, I guess.
He's too commercial. He's too popular. He's too mainstream. Mainstream is the word I'm looking for.
Mainstream. Yep.
So we have sections for those indie games like Tell Me Why and Spiritfarer. The games for impact, that's a category that Greece would have won if it didn't,
Yeah.
And that's, I guess that's something. Do I agree with it? No, but just like Doom Eternal isn't necessarily a game for me, maybe the Game Awards isn't a show for me,
Sorry,
That's
one of my
okay.
cats was potentially destroying a book.
Oh boy. Go kill him, Will. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Sorry. He was just standing on the shelf, and I've got good books over there, and he was biting the spine of it.
Oh my God.
And I'm I just hear this sound behind me. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
If it makes you feel any better, I have my cat meowing at the door trying to get in. And he is furious. And as soon as I hang up these headphones, he's going to come running at me.
Barreling.
Oh my God. It's the worst. It's the worst. I've been home all fucking day. They can't leave me alone for an hour. He just said no. He just meowed.
He's no, dude. You're my fucking dad. But yeah, no, to kind of put a final thought into this question from Joe. I generally tune into the Game Awards. I do like what Jeff Keighley is doing. I think it's cool that he is trying to sort of create an Oscars, if you will, for games.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to see some of these smaller titles get some more impact, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the big boys are going home with all the awards, because it's just kind of the name of the game.
It unfortunately is. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us, man. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about before you go kill your cats?
Yeah, I cannot wait to see what damage they've done. Hopefully not much.
I hope not.
No, I'm, like I said, just very excited to check out Spiritfarer and the soundtrack. I'm probably going to do it tonight, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that, check out my SoundCloud. Please check out our Discord and our website. And give us a follow, give us a like, drop us a comment, and send us a fax.
And where's that SoundCloud again, Will?
Sure, it's soundcloud.com/Will_gear.
I'm going to throw a quick link in the... whoops, wrong command. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. Of course, follow me on Twitter at ScienceStorm. And of course, Discord room, there is a link for that in the show notes. Subscribe to us on YouTube and check out our website, www.wdgrpodcast.com, where you can check out our Music Mondays, our semi-regular blogs. Well, Will's the only one that's writing lately. I haven't wrote shit. So
a rare moment for me.
Yeah.
But we're going to try and get back into the swing of things.
Definitely. So on that note, thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.